Excellent. So we can get started. Okay, welcome to yoga, Wednesday evening. Do you want to come and sit on your mat? Find a nice, easy seat, comfortable seat on your mat. Come and sit cross-legged if that feels good for you. If you have any discomfort in the knees, take a block or a pillow, maybe slip it underneath the hips, sometimes helping to raise up the knees at the hips a little bit above the knees, helps take the stress off the knees. So let's get started. Remembering yoga is all about your journey, it's your practice. No stress, no strain, no pain. If a pose doesn't feel good, feels uncomfortable, I think somebody's just messaged me, maybe waiting to get in. I'll just quickly. And then remember to back off and come into child's pose, rest in child's pose, and then join back into the class when you can. Just remember, when you ever come to your own edge, don't overstretch and avoid any injury. So let's begin by coming to the breath, beginning with the breath. So sitting up nice and tall, taking your awareness to the breathing, gently closing the eyes, resting your hands on your knees. Beginning to focus the breath, control the breath by taking nice, long, deep inhales, nice, long, slow exhales. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose if you can. Trying to find the Ujjayi breath if you can. Really smoothing out that breath. Making the exhale as long as the inhale. Taking the awareness and the focus to the breathing, forgetting about the day, leaving behind your worries and your cares, and just becoming mindful, becoming present on your mat. Taking the focus to the seat bones, feeling where the seat bones are connected to the earth and feeling that connection to the earth through the seat bones, feeling that lengthening through the spine as you pull the spine up and out through the hips. Opening up through that spine, nice long tall spine, feeling space between each of the vertebrae. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, taking the shoulders around and then taking them gently down your back, taking the shoulders away from the ears. Nice long neck, head sitting just gently on top of the spine. Nice long inhales, again, nice long exhales. Taking the focus to the pelvic floor, lifting, engaging the pelvic floor, the Mula Bandha. Taking the navel in and up, the Uddiyana Bandha. Being aware of our bandhas throughout our practice today. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Moving into a counted pranayama breathing exercise. We'll begin by taking a nice deep inhale, really filling up the lungs. A nice smooth exhale, completely emptying the lungs. And then inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Inhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. And then letting go of that counted breath, returning to the normal breathing, breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Just taking a moment to check in. Recognize how calm and centered the mind is, how smooth and even the breath is, how calm and relaxed the body feels. Knowing that at any point in your day, you can come back to that counted breath to help still the mind, calm the mind, relax the body. And then slowly, gently opening your eyes, bringing your awareness into the room. Take a nice deep inhale as you inhale, lifting the arms all the way up to the sky, reaching up nice and tall. As you exhale, gently dropping that left hand down to your left side and then reaching that right hand and taking that right hand all the way over towards that left side of the mat. Breathing in, feeling that stretch all the way up through that right side of the body, feeling that opening up through that right lung. And then gently coming all the way back to the center. And again, inhaling, reaching all the way up, taking the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, dropping that right hand down to the right side of the mat. And then taking that left arm up and over. And again, feeling that opening up now through the left side. Breathing in and exhaling. And then slowly lower, taking the hand back down. And then taking both hands onto the knees, resting them on the knees, coming through with some cat-cow stretches. So breathing in, as you're breathing in, opening and lifting that chest and taking your weight forward. And then as you exhale, slowly coming back and curling that spine all the way in. Inhaling, reaching up, lifting up through that waist, opening up through that chest, and then exhaling, curling the spine all the way in. Moving through the cat-cow, warming up the spine, mobilizing the spine. So really feeling the extension, the flexion through the spine, warming all those muscles up along the spine. Getting ready for our practice. Moving with the breath. Taking nice long inhales as we come into our seated cow. And nice long exhales as we come into our seated cats. And then slowly coming all the way back to the center, sitting up nice and tall. Taking your hands slightly behind you and then taking your feet out in front of you, coming onto the tiptoes here. And we'll just do some gentle side twists. So take a nice deep inhale. And as you exhale, just taking the knees and twisting over to the right side of the body. And then exhaling, coming back to the center. Take a nice deep inhale. Exhaling, coming over, taking the hips over to the left side of the body, and then coming all the way back to the center. Take a nice deep inhale and exhaling, twisting over to the other side. And just gently, with your own breath, moving from side to side. Just feeling that opening up through the obliques, feeling that engagement through the core. Breathing nice and deeply. And then slowly coming back to the center. Well done. And then from here, coming over and coming around into our neutral tabletop position, holding in our neutral tabletop position. Coming into our Anahastasana, our puppy pose, keeping the legs where they are, keeping the hips where they are. Start to walk the hands forward and taking the hands forward in front of you, gently lowering down and coming down onto your forearms. Is this where you want to be? You can rest on your forehead or your chin and just opening up and feel that opening up through the shoulders. Coming to wherever you feel that gentle stretch. Don't come too deeply in here and really hurt yourself. So just come to wherever you can feel that gentle stretch through the shoulders. We're just warming everything up here, taking some mobility through each of the joints. So just come to wherever feels good for you and just hold here. Feel that release through the upper back. Feel that release through the shoulders. A great counter pose for all the screen time we have. So just gently holding here and feeling the opening. And then slowly coming up onto the hands, taking the hands underneath the shoulders, coming back into that neutral tabletop. opening up through the chest, and then curling through the toes, and then taking the hips over the heels and pushing yourself up into a nice gentle downward facing dog, keeping a deep bend through the knees here. Start to walk and pedal your dog, taking a range of movement through the feet, through the ankles, through the calves, all the way up the backs of the legs. Feel that opening up through the whole posterior chain of the legs into the hips, letting the weight go from the shoulders, letting the weight go from the neck. And then from here, taking a deep bend through the knees, looking forward towards the hands, taking the left foot and stepping the left foot up behind that left hand, taking that right foot, stepping up behind the right hand. So your feet are about hip width distance apart here, as keeping that bend through the knees, coming into a nice soft, gentle forward fold. Taking the chest over onto the thighs and just feeling again the opening up here, and then coming into our ragdoll. So clasping the opposite elbows with your hands and just hanging forward in that ragdoll. That bend through the knees, the opening up through the hamstrings, feeling that release through those hamstrings, which again get quite tight when we're sitting all day at desks, in front of computers, in front of the television. Letting the tension go through the neck and the shoulders, trying to find the ease in every pose that we come into. Slowly rocking from side to side. If it feels good for you, if it doesn't feel good for you, then stay in that gentle forward fold and that hang. But coming from side to side, if it feels good, maybe trying to find a range of movement, looking for any tight spots, feeling into those tight spots, breathing into them, taking some gentle movement through the tight spots, just trying to find that release of all the tension in the body. No stress, no strain means that we can come deeper into our postures. And then from here, letting go of the hands, engaging through the core, taking a deep bend through the knees, start to uncurl through the spine, coming up vertebra by vertebra, nice and slowly, coming all the way up to standing into our mountain pose, our Tadasana. Feet about a hip width distance apart, all four corners of the feet connected to the earth, navel lifted, engaged, shoulders back and down, really feeling that opening up through the chest, standing up nice and tall, head just gently resting on top of the spine, finding the ease, finding the strength, finding the grace in our mountain pose. Moving through a modified classical Surya Namaskara, beginning by breathing in, reaching the arms all the way up to the sky, and then exhaling, coming down into that gentle forward fold, again keeping a bend through the knees to begin with until we get nice and warm, and then taking a step back with that right foot, and then dropping that right knee onto the mat, letting go of those right toes, and from here just coming forward a little bit with the weight, feeling that opening up through that right hip flexor. And then picking up that left leg and taking that left leg back to meet the right leg. And then sitting all the way back on our heels, coming back into our child's pose. And then inhaling, coming all the way up into tabletop, and then making our way all the way down onto our bellies, coming to lying down on the mat. Taking the arms out a little bit wider than the mat, in line with your shoulders, underneath your shoulders, coming up onto the fingertips. Breathing in and just taking the chest slowly off the floor, not too high, just a little bit off the floor, and start to move through a modified Bhujangasana, Cobra pose, just moving from side to side, again looking for that release through the upper back, looking for some easing of the tension through the shoulders, just warming everything up, getting all the synovial fluid in our joints nice and warm. So just moving through the pose, however feels good for you. Just again, looking for that ease and that release of the tension. Remembering to breathe nice and deeply, using that breath as a guide. And then slowly lower back down and taking the hands underneath the shoulders, pushing yourself up into a neutral tabletop, and then taking yourself all the way back into that child's pose. And And then coming all the way back up into that neutral tabletop. And then inhaling, lifting up that right leg and taking that right leg forward so that right foot is in between your hands at the front of the mat. Still resting on that back left knee. And here opening up and feeling that opening up through that left hip flexor. And just holding here for a breath, feeling that release through that hip flexor. And then from here, coming up onto the toes of that back left foot, and then picking that left foot up and taking it forward, and taking your feet so they're roughly about hip width distance apart, and then coming back down into that forward fold. Holding in the forward fold just for a breath. And then inhaling, and as you inhale, taking a soft bend through the knees, taking the arms up towards the ears, in line with the ears, and then using that core, lifting yourself all the way back up, reaching all the way up to the sky, and then taking your hands down to the heart center on the exhale into Samastiti. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And we'll repeat on the left-hand side. So inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming down into that forward fold. Remembering there's always an option to have that soft bend through the knees. Inhaling, taking a step back with that left foot and dropping down onto that left knee, letting go of those left toes. And again, just holding here for a breath, feeling that opening up through that left hip flexor. And then inhaling, lifting up that right foot and taking that right knee back to meet the left knee. And then slowly sitting back into our child's pose on the exhale. Inhaling, coming all the way forward into our tabletop. And then dropping ourselves all the way down onto our belly. Coming into a Bhujangasana here. So taking your hands underneath your shoulders, just gently resting them on the mat. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale, and then inhaling, reaching up, pulling yourself up into your Bhujangasana. Exhaling, gently lowering back down onto the mat. Inhaling, lifting up into Bhujangasana. Exhaling, gently lowering back down onto the mat. And one more time, inhaling, lifting up into Bhujangasana. Exhaling, coming all the way back down and holding here just for a breath. And then inhaling, lifting yourself all the way up into that tabletop. And then pushing yourself all the way back on the exhale into that child's pose. Inhaling, coming all the way back up onto all fours. Exhaling, pulling up that left foot, and taking it forward into front of in between your hands at the front of the mat. So that left foot's forward and you're resting back on that right knee and feeling that opening up through that right hip flexor. And then from here, coming onto the toes of that back right foot, lifting up that back right foot and taking it forward to meet the left and taking the feet roughly again about a hip width distance apart and coming down into that forward fold. Holding the forward fold, making sure the shoulders away from the ears, the navel's lifted and engaged. Inhaling, taking your hands all the way over to the left. And opening up and feeling that stretch and that opening all the way up the right side of the body as you gently take that right hand just that little bit further forward of the left hand. And then release, inhaling, coming back to the center. Exhaling, coming all the way over to the right and feeling that opening up through that left side of the body. Breathing into that left lung. And then release, coming all the way back to the center. Again, taking a soft bend through the knees, lifting the arms up so the arms are in line with the ears. And then lifting yourself up using that core, coming all the way up to standing, reaching the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, taking your hands to your heart center. Samastiti. Well done. Take a nice deep inhale. A nice long exhale. Moving into Surya Namaskara A, modified. Breathing in, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming down into that forward folds. Remember, you can have a soft bend through the knees at any time in the practice. It's your practice, it's your journey. You go wherever feels good for you. Inhaling, coming into our L shape, taking a straight back, straight legs, taking your hands onto the shins, taking the shoulders away from the ears, lifting and engaging through that navel.
Exhaling, coming all the way back down into that forward fold. Inhaling, taking a step back with one foot, then taking a step back with the other foot, and then gently pushing yourself back into a downward facing dog. Breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. Lifting up that right leg with an inhale, coming into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, bending that right knee and feeling that opening up through that right hip as you pull that right foot towards that left shoulder, grinding through both hands, grinding down through that right foot, left foot. And then gently release on the exhale, coming all the way back down into a downward facing dog. Gently walk and pedal your dog just for a moment here. And then inhaling, lifting up that left leg, coming all the way up into a three-legged dog on the left-hand side. Exhaling, bending through that left knee and taking that left foot towards that right shoulder, opening up through that left hip, grinding down through that right foot, grinding down through both feet, both hands. Exhaling, release, and then taking your foot back down to the mat. And again, just gently walk and pedal your dog here. And then from here, breathing in, reaching up that right leg, coming back into that three-legged dog. Exhaling, coming over into high plank, pulling that knee all the way up into the chest to meet your nose, if you can. Inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming into the high plank, taking that right knee to that right elbow. Inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming all the way forward, taking that right knee to that left elbow. Inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. And exhaling, gently dropping that leg and coming back into that downward facing dog. Breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly walking and pedaling your dog here. And then from here, inhaling, lifting up that left leg, taking that left leg nice and high into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, coming all the way forward into a high plank, taking that knee into the chest. Inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, coming forward, taking that left knee to that left elbow. Inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, coming forward, taking that left knee to that right elbow. And inhaling, reaching all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, dropping that foot down and gently walk and pedal your dog just for a moment. And then from here, gently coming down onto the knees and just sit back in your child's pose and taking the arms down beside your hips, just holding here just for a moment. Curling everything in. Catching your breath. And then slowly coming up. Coming back into a neutral tabletop, curling through the toes, lifting the hips all the way up to the sky, coming back into that downward facing dog. Moving into our scorpion pose. We're going to inhale up through that right leg, taking that right leg all the way up to the sky into a three-legged dog. Exhaling, bending through that right knee, taking that right foot towards that left shoulder. Exhaling, taking that right knee down and then swinging it over and taking that right knee over towards that left elbow. Inhaling, reaching up, swinging the leg round, coming into our twisted dog. Exhaling, coming all the way forward and taking that right knee to that left elbow. And one more time, opening up through that hip, taking that right heel towards that left shoulder. Exhaling, swinging that right leg all the way around and taking it to meet that left elbow. And then gently release, pushing yourself all the way back into a downward facing dog. Take a nice long inhale, a nice long exhale. And what we do on the right, we have to do on the left. So take a nice deep inhale, reaching all the way up to the sky with that left foot. And then exhaling, bending that left foot and taking it all the way over towards that right shoulder. Inhaling here, and as you exhale, coming all the way around and taking that left knee over to touch that right elbow. Inhaling, opening everything up. Exhaling, curling around and taking that left knee to that right elbow. Last time, inhaling, opening up through that hip. Exhaling, coming all the way around, taking that left knee to that right elbow. And then inhaling, stepping your foot back and just walking and pedaling your dog here. And again, coming down onto the knees, sitting back over the heels, taking your arms down beside your hips and come into your child's pose here. Letting the tension go through the neck, through the shoulders, letting the arms just hang forward onto the mat. And then release, coming all the way back up, taking your hands in front of you into a nice neutral tabletop position, curling the toes under, taking the heels, hips over the heels, pushing yourself all the way back into that downward facing dog. Taking a nice deep bend through the knees, looking forward towards the hands. You can either hop, coming up towards your hands, feet towards the hands, or you can just gently step up. So your practice, you go wherever feels good for you. Coming up into a nice forward fold. Nice easy forward fold. Take a nice deep inhale. Nice long exhale. And then inhaling again, taking a soft bend through the knees, taking the arms up towards the ears, and then lifting the core, using through the core to help lift you all the way up. Coming all the way up to standing, reaching all the way up to the sky. Hands to your heart center, Samastitihi. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale. And then dropping the hands down by your sides, just start to swing. Taking a soft bend through the knees. And again, we're just looking for some gentle release through the shoulders, through the hips, through the knees. Just breathing nice and deeply, clearing all our aura around us, just finding that space and that freedom through the movement. Well done. And then coming up towards the top of your mat, again, taking your feet roughly about hip width distance apart, just to help protect that lower sacral area and the lower back. But if you're used to keeping your feet together and you're comfortable with that, fine. But if you're a beginner or you have any back issues, then I'd recommend keeping your feet hip width distance apart. So from here, breathing in, taking the arms up over the head. And again, if it's coming out to the sides, not good for you, you can come up the midline of the body. Whatever feels good for you, wherever there's no stress, no strain, no pain. And then exhaling, coming all the way forward into that forward fold. Inhaling, coming halfway up, straight back, straight legs, hands on the shins, taking the shoulders away from the ears, lifting, engaging that navel. Exhaling, coming all the way back down into a forward fold, keeping a soft bend in the knees if that's where you're at today, if that's what feels good for you. Inhaling, taking a step back with one leg, and then taking a step back with the other leg, and then exhaling, pushing yourself all the way back into your downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice long exhale, really enjoying our down dog or restorative pose. And then inhaling, reaching up with that right leg, taking that right leg all the way up to the sky into that three-legged dog. Exhaling, pulling that right knee all the way into the chest, and then landing that right foot in between your hands over towards that right thumb. So you've got roughly about a hip width distance apart with your feet in terms of the width of the mat. Inhaling here, and as you inhale, think about lengthening out through that spine, finding that length all the way along the spine. As you exhale, taking a soft bend through that back knee, engaging through that navel, lifting up through that core, and using that core to help lift you all the way up into our high lunge pose. Coming into our dynamic lunges. Inhaling, reaching up, taking the arms all the way up to the sky, straightening out through both legs. Exhaling, dropping down into the lunge. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming down. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming into the lunge. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling into the lunge, and then one more time. Inhaling, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling and holding in the lunge here. Feeling that opening up through that hip flexor. Feeling that strength through the thighs. And then gently release, coming all the way forward over that right knee, and then dropping down onto that back left foot, letting go of that left toes. Coming into a twisted lunge here, taking your torso and twisting the torso to look over that right thigh. So opening up through that torso, and then taking that left arm and taking it in over that right thigh and holding here. This is where it feels good for you. You can open up that right arm all the way to the sky, feel the opening up through the chest. Or if you want, you can take your hands together and come into prayer pose, namaste hands. And again, just feeling the opening up through here. If you want more, you can hold here and then come up onto the toes of that back foot and come into the lunge. Opening everything up, twisting through the torso, looking up over that right shoulder. And then release, taking both hands down to the mats. And then taking that right hand inside that right foot and then swiveling that left foot around. So you're coming so the left sole of the foot is resting on the floor. And then inhaling, taking that left arm all the way up, coming into our Parasvakonasana, our extended side angle pose. So taking that left arm all the way up to the sky. Feeling that opening up through the hips, grounding down through that left foot, looking for that diagonal line from that left hand all the way down to that left foot. And then inhaling, pulling yourself all the way up, coming up into our warrior two pose. So just checking your heels are roughly in alignment here. Opening up the hips to the side of the mat, opening up the chest to the side of the mat, bending through that front knee, arms to shoulder height. And inhaling, reaching up, straightening out the legs, taking the arms all the way up to the sky. Exhaling, coming back down into our warrior two. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, coming all the way back down into warrior two. Inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, coming all the way down into warrior two. We can always come down a little bit further than we think we can. And then one more time, inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, coming all the way down into that warrior two pose. And then from here, moving into our half moon balancing pose, taking that left foot a little bit further in towards the right, starting to take your weight up onto that right foot, lifting up that left foot up towards the sky, taking that right hand down onto the mat. If you want, you can take it a little bit further forward, and then opening up the arm, opening up that left hip, and opening everything up to the sky, coming into our half moon. Finding the balance here, trying to open everything up. Imagine you're shooting moonbeams out of your toes and out of your fingers. Just feeling that strength in our Ardha Chandrasana. And then release, dropping that left foot all the way back down. And then start to walk the hands in towards the center of the mat and turn both feet. So there's about a leg's distance apart between the feet, and taking the toes and just turning the toes slightly inwards, coming pigeon-toed. And then taking the hands onto the thighs and just gently coming from side to side here. Again, we're looking for some release through the movement, through the shoulders, through the waist, through the hips. Just breathing in here. Looking for some nice dynamic movements. Trying to keep everything fluid, trying to keep everything mobile, trying to keep everything nice and easy. So we ease into the pose. We don't force or push into a pose. And then from here, taking the hands onto the waist and then slowly coming forward and taking your weight forward, coming into a forward fold, a wide-legged forward fold, Prasarita Padottanasana. If you want, you can take the hands down on the mat and then slowly take the head down on the mat if that's where you're at today. But if not, then be wherever you're at, enjoying that gentle opening up through the hamstrings. Breathing nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then inhaling, coming halfway up. Exhaling, taking the hands onto the waist. And then inhaling, taking yourself all the way back up to standing. Well done.
And then from here, swiveling that left foot round so it's facing towards the other side of the mat. And then swiveling yourself around, coming onto the toes of that back right foot and adjusting the feet so the feet are roughly, again, about a hip width distance apart in terms of the width of the mat. Breathing in nice and deeply, feeling that lengthening through the spine. Nice long spine, shoulders away from the ears. And as you exhale, taking a soft bend through that back knee, engaging through that core and using that core to help lift and support you as you come all the way back up into our high lunge. Again, moving through some dynamic lunges. Breathing in, reaching up, taking the arms all the way up to the sky, straightening out the legs. Exhaling, coming down into that lunge. Inhaling, reaching up. Exhaling, dropping down into the lunge. Inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhaling, dropping down. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhaling, coming down. And one more time, inhaling, reaching up nice and tall. Exhaling, coming into our lunge and holding here. Shoulders away from the ears, navel lifted and engaged. Feeling that opening up through that right hip flexor. And then release, coming all the way forward over that left knee, dropping that right knee down onto the mat and letting go of those right toes. Coming into our twisted lunge on this side. Starting to look over that left thigh, so turning around to look over that left thigh, looking over that left shoulder. And then taking the right arm and taking it over the left thigh as well. And again, feeling that twist. And if you want, you can hold the twist and open up through that left arm all the way up to the sky and hold here. If you want, you can come into the prayer pose, taking both hands together into a prayer pose, feeling that twist through the torso, feeling that opening up through that left hip. If you want even more, you can come down up onto that right toes and hold here, feeling again that opening up and that twist as you take yourself up and look over that left shoulder. And then slowly release, coming all the way back down. And taking that left hand inside that left foot and taking that right foot and turning that right foot so the sole of the right foot is on the mat with a bend through that front left knee. Opening up through the hip, taking that right arm up over your ear and reaching that right arm up towards the sky, coming into our Bhujangasana, extended side angle pose. Looking for that diagonal line if you can between that right hand and that right foot. Equal weight between both feet, navel lifted and engaged, shoulders away from the ears, not holding any tension in the neck and the shoulders. And then slowly release and pull yourself up and come all the way up into Warrior Two. Opening up the hips to the side of the mat, opening up the chest to the side of the mat, taking the arms to shoulder height, taking a deep lunge through that left knee, and then inhaling, reaching up, straightening out the legs, exhaling, coming back down into that Warrior Two. Inhaling, reaching all the way up, exhaling, coming back down into Warrior Two. Inhaling, reaching all the way up, exhaling to Warrior Two, and then one more time, reaching all the way up, exhaling, holding Warrior Two, coming a little bit deeper into that left knee, and then slowly come up a little bit through that left leg, straightening out that left leg slightly, and then taking that right foot towards the left. Start to take your weight over onto that left foot, and we're going to lift that right leg up towards the sky, coming into our half moon pose. So taking that left hand in front of you, and then lifting up that right arm all the way up to the sky, lifting that right leg all the way up to the sky, turning the torso, so you're opening up through the hip, opening up through the shoulder, finding a drishti point for the gaze, opening everything up. Really feel yourself reaching up to that moon. Nice long leg, nice long arm. And then gently release, dropping that right foot behind you, and then walking the hands again to the center of the mat and turning your legs, turning your feet. So your legs are roughly about a leg's distance apart. Taking the feet, just turning them in ever so slightly, coming slightly pigeon-toed here. And then from here, putting your both hands down so they're just in front of your face. Taking the weight through that left hand
And breathing in nice and deeply. And as you exhale, taking that right arm all the way up to the sky and reaching and looking up over that right shoulder. Inhaling, coming back to the center. Exhaling, lifting up that left arm, reaching all the way up, looking over that left shoulder. Coming all the way back to the center on the inhale, exhaling, lifting up through that right, looking all the way over that right shoulder. Inhaling back to the center, and then one more time on the left, lifting up that left and reaching all the way up, looking over that left shoulder towards that left thumb. And then release, coming all the way back to center. From here, slowly walk your hands over towards the top of the mat, turning that right foot around so that you've got bend through that right front knee onto the toes of that back left foot. And then from here, placing both hands down on the mat, lifting up that right knee, hugging into your chest, and stepping yourself all the way back into a downward facing dog. And now your downward facing dog feels quite restorative. Breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly. And then gently taking the feet together, taking the knees apart, a little bit wider than hip distance, and slowly taking the hips back over the heels, coming into our extended child's pose, balasana. Taking the hands all the way out in front of us, taking the heels and the hips all the way behind us. And feeling that extension through the spine, feeling that elongation, trying to create space through each of the vertebrae. Feeling the opening up through the shoulders. Trying to let the hips melt into the mat. Breathing nice and deeply. Exhaling nice and slowly. Well done. So slowly, gently coming up onto our knees. Coming into Ustrasana, or Camel Pose. So coming up onto our knees here. And then curling our toes underneath us. So we're taking the heels a little bit higher up. So we'll move through some waving Ustrasana first of all, just to make sure that we're nice and warm and everything's nice and fluid. So taking the right hand and just gently taking your right hand and taking it behind you and placing it on your right ankle. And then taking that left arm and then just slowly coming all the way around the body in a half circle, taking that left arm all the way behind you, and then taking that left arm down onto that left ankle, heel as you let go of the right heel, and then swing the right arm up and around you in a half circle, taking it towards that right heel as you let go of the left, and then circling that left arm all the way around us, taking that left hand down to that left heel, taking the right arm all the way up and around. Just opening everything up, moving nice and slowly. Moving from one side to the other, just warming everything up. And then one more time this way. And then if you can stay with the half Ustrasana holding here, and then come to the other side and hold here. But if you want to, coming into the full Ustrasana, taking both hip hands onto the heels, trying to keep those hips coming forward as you lean back and arch through the back, opening up through that back. Well done. And then slowly release, coming all the way back up, and then dropping those hips back onto the heels, and then taking yourself forward and coming forward into our child's pose, and then just taking the arms down beside the hips, and just coming forward into a forward fold just for a moment. And then slowly push up and come around to lying on your back. Lying on your back, taking your knees bent to the knees, and then slowly taking your knees up so they're just above your hips. And then taking the arms out and resting the arms in line with your hips, palms up to the sky. And then from here, coming through some hollow tucks, just to engage through that core. Inhaling, and as you inhale, lifting up through that core, and using that core to lift you up as you pull the chest up and take the arms forward of the thighs. Exhaling, coming all the way back down to the center. Again, inhaling, lifting yourself up, using that core, taking the arms all the way in front of you, and then gently rolling back down onto your mat. And this time, if you want, you can continue with this, but if you want more, you can come up. And as you come up, taking the arms forward, you can gently start to lengthen out the legs and hold here in that hollow tuck. Or keep the knees here, wherever feels good for you. You can have straight legs or bent legs. And then coming all the way back down and breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling nice and slowly, and we'll repeat. Breathing in, reaching up, taking the arms out in front of you, taking the arms forward of the thighs, holding here with bent legs. This is where you can feel the activation through the core. If you want more, taking the legs out straight, and again, feeling that activation through the core, maybe lowering the legs slightly, working through that core, breathing in nice and deeply. And then slowly release. Pull the knees in towards the chest, giving yourself a nice big hug here. Well done. Dropping the feet back onto the mat. Knees bent. Picking up that right leg and crossing that right leg over the left. And then from here, taking the arms out, about in line with your shoulders, lifting up those hips and ever so slightly moving the hips over to the right, as you then gently lower both knees over to the left, and feeling that twist and that opening through the torso, and feeling that opening up through that right hip. Breathing into that twist, maybe taking that head and turning over towards the right, making sure that right shoulder is connected to the earth. Just breathing into the hip opening, breathing into that twist. Twists are so good for relieving tension through the body. And then gently release, coming back to the center and uncrossing the legs. Repeating on the other side. So taking that left knee and crossing it over the right knee. Picking up the hips and just gently moving them over to the left slightly as you take both knees over to the right hand side, keeping that left shoulder rooted down to the mat. Maybe taking your gaze over to the left shoulder, taking both knees over onto the right side of the mat. And again, feeling that opening up through that left hip this time, all the way through the left side of the body, even feeling it opening up through the shoulders. A lot going on in this pose. So just breathe into the pose and enjoy the stretch. Enjoy the release. And then slowly coming back to the center, uncrossing the legs. And from here, pulling one knee into your chest and then the other knee into your chest. Again, giving yourself a nice big hug here in our Apanasana, wind relieving pose. And then crossing the ankles, slowly rocking all the way back up to seated. If rocking isn't good for you, you can roll over onto one side and then gently come over up into a seated position. Coming into our Janu Shirshasana, so I'm just sorting my mic here. Coming into our Janu Shirshasana pose, head to knee pose. Taking both legs out in front of you. And then taking that left knee and bending that left leg into, so the sole of that left foot is in towards the thigh here. And I tell you, I'm going to get a block here for my knee because I have a sore left knee. So if you have any issues with your knee, you can use a block to help support that knee that's bent. So I'm just going to put it underneath here and hold the block here. So that's always an option for you. And if you feel that your knee's up here not very supported, you can get a block or a pillow and just put it underneath the knee. Remember, it's your practice, your journey. We're not looking for any injuries here. We're looking for a nice gentle stretch and coming to your own edge.
So breathing in, reaching up nice and tall. And as you reach up nice and tall, feel that elongation through the spine, lifting, engaging that navel, dropping the shoulders away from the ears. And then slowly, gently in your own time, coming forward and taking your weight forward over that right leg and coming into our Janu Shirshasana on the right side. Opening everything up here, opening up through the hip, trying to let go through the shoulders, pull the navel in and up, and just coming forward over that right knee. Keeping both hip bones grounded down into the earth. Nice, long, straight spine. And then slowly release, coming all the way back up. And then we'll repeat on the other side. So letting go of that left knee. And then taking that right foot in towards that left thigh. And holding here. And again, if there's any discomfort in the knee, if your knee's up here and you feel it's not supported, or you feel any tightness or soreness in the knee, get a block or a pillow, stick it underneath the knee. Always protect the knees. Don't want an injury like I got on my knee, so always protect the knees. So from here, reaching out, it's a badminton injury, not a yoga injury, so just say that. So reaching up nice and tall, really feeling that stretch through the spine. Exhaling, coming forward and taking that torso over that left leg. Keeping a nice straight back, shoulders away from the ears, navel in and up. Coming forward and just breathing into the stretch, only ever coming to your own edge, only ever coming to where feels good for you. You can feel that nice gentle stretch and noticing how you can just ease into the stretch. You can come just that little bit further. If you hold and push and pull, you find that you don't come so deep into the stretch. So just trying to breathe into it and just ease into it slowly. Well done. And then gently coming all the way back up. And then releasing that right leg. And then taking both feet together, soles of the feet together in front of you. And then just sitting here and just letting tension, like letting gravity have its effect on your knees. Taking your hands just slightly behind your hips, sitting back slightly in your hands. Coming into our Baddha Konasana. So again, don't push and pull the legs open, just let them fall open. Letting the knees fall open to wherever they want to fall open. Opening up through that chest, breathing nice and deeply. We're looking for a release through the hips here, release through the sacrum. So we don't want to tweak the sacrum, damage the lower back. So just come to wherever feels good for you, wherever you can feel that nice, gentle opening. And then from here, walking the hands slightly in towards the hips, picking up those hips and actually moving the hips forward towards the heels. And then from here again, just feeling for that nice, gentle opening up through the thighs, that opening up through the hips. Sitting back slightly in the hands, again, just feeling the release, feeling the easing and the opening up. And then from here, sitting forward slightly, taking your hands onto your feet, and then taking the soles of your feet and open your feet like you would open the pages of a book. Sitting up nice and tall, grounding those seat bones into the earth. Find that length through the spine, sitting up nice and tall. And feeling those knees opening up, dropping towards the mat. Breathing in and feeling that release. And then slowly, gently, taking the knees together. And then coming to lie down on your back on the mat. Coming into our Shavasana. So just finding a nice, easy pose. Either lying on your back or lying on your side or your belly if lying on your back doesn't feel good for you. Lying on your back, taking your legs out nice and wide, letting the feet flop out to the side, just trying to let all the tension go from the legs, from the feet. Taking the arms and letting the arms fall out to the sides.
trying to have the hands facing with the palms facing up towards the universe, ready to receive. But if it's really not comfortable for you and you want to feel more grounded, then you can take your palms down and place your palms face down onto the earth. Again, you choose whatever feels good for you. Take a nice long deep inhale here, really filling up the belly, filling up the lungs, filling up the whole body with air, with prana. And then exhaling, completely emptying the lungs, emptying the belly, letting all the tension go. And as you exhale, feeling all that tension just melting away from the body, melting away into the earth. Feeling Mother Earth taking all the tension away from the body. Feeling where your heels touch the mat, feeling where your calves and your hips, from the backs of the hands, the shoulders, the back of the head, where everything touches the mat in your body, feeling that connection to the earth, feeling how Mother Earth has supporting us, has our back. And as you exhale, exhaling all that tension, all that stress, all those worries and cares, just feel them melting away into the mat. Giving yourself permission to relax, giving yourself permission to let go, giving yourself permission to let go of all thoughts. Just take these next few minutes for you to relax, to let go. Let all the tension go from the body. Feel yourself melting into the mat. You're completely relaxed into the mat. Not controlling the breath. Just letting the breath return to its normal cadence. Bring your awareness to your third eye. Bring your awareness to the lights flickering behind your eyelids. Noticing the change in color, the change in the shading. Not trying to name the colors, not placing any attachment to the colors or any judgment. Just watching, observing. Recognizing there's a lesson to be learned. And just watching and observing, becoming the silent witness. No judgment. And then slowly, gently, in your own time, begin to bring your awareness back to the room. Begin to bring some gentle movement through your fingers and your toes, through your hands and your feet. Taking a nice long inhale, stretching the arms all the way up over your head. Stretching your legs nice and long in the opposite direction. Again, feeling that length through the spine, feeling that length through the arms, through the legs. And then slowly pulling the knees in towards your chest, giving yourself a nice big hug here. Maybe gently rocking from side to side, taking some gentle movements through that spine, gently massaging that spine. And then slowly rocking over to the right side of your body if you can, and coming into that fetal position and holding in that fetal position just for a breath, just for a moment. Feeling that central nervous system resetting, relaxing. And then gently pushing up, coming all the way back up into a nice easy seat. Sitting up nice and tall. Finishing with 3 deep inhales and a nice big exhale on a nice big sigh on the exhale. So breathing in nice and deeply, exhaling with a big sigh, breathing in again nice and deeply, sighing it all out, and breathing in again. Well done. Taking your hands to your heart center in Anjali Mudra. And finishing with an Om tonight. So taking a nice deep inhale. Om. Thank you for sharing your practice with me, from my heart to yours. Namaste. Hope you enjoyed your yoga practice tonight. Any comments, any feedback, any questions, anything that you'd like me to go over or explain, anything you'd like me to change, please feel free to email me. It's yogabalancebyangela@gmail.com. Otherwise, have a nice evening, and I hope I'll see you all again next Wednesday. Namaste.